Okay, hey, my name is Jay Martin. This is a 3v3 game on Grassy Flatlands, obviously. This is a match between my clan, which is Huntsman. I'm here, I'm on the left, as Austria. In the center is Karlavachko, and on the right side of Sweden is the mighty Riskard. Playing for the other team is the AA clan, and they have on the far right Shogun, and in the center Alternative, and on the left Django Kill. And I want to take a minute to give a shout out here. I've played with Django a fair bit. I think he's a fantastic player, and more importantly, I think he and I kind of got a good vibe, or we play kind of similar styles or similar approach to the game. So I played against this guy much more than I've played with him, but I think he's a very fine player, and I was real psyched. I played with him mostly before he was in a clan, and he wound up in a good one. So I've been meaning to give you a little shout, man, and that's it. So Django there's a fine player and a good representative of the Napoleon community. So if you ever get a chance to play with him, I really recommend that you do. And this clan AA here was good to get a player of that caliber in their lineup, which is good. I'm doing a video on this game because it actually turned out to be a really, really good game. Not necessarily because of the participants. Obviously, these are all pretty good players that we got going on here, but it turned out to be a really good game. Spoiler alert, I get completely demolished in this game. I get my ass kicked. And so what I want to do for this video is I want to talk about more big picture concepts about playing the 3v3 on Grassy game. And there are two reasons for that. The first is that I've already made a ton of videos about doing tactics on a 3v3 on Grassy, and I've done a handful of videos where I kind of touch lightly on these more big picture concepts for the 3v3 Grassy game. But I thought maybe I'd make kind of a dedicated video on that now. And kind of the second issue is that this game really highlights a lot of them, I think. It does a really good job. And the third reason would be that 3v3 on Grassy is really it is kind of the default clan-on-clan group game. Clan games is generally played in these settings, so if you want to be in a clan and everything, this is kind of a format that you're going to have to play a lot, and you kind of got to get used to it, and you'll win some, you'll lose some, but maybe together we can watch this game and figure out some things that go well or go bad. Some things I want to offer up to you on a general perspective. The first is that whenever you're playing a 3v3 game, especially on Grassy, you got to keep in mind that it's a team game. Things might go well on your flank, things might go bad on your flank, things might go really fucking bad on your flank, like they did to me in this particular game. This is Django and I starting an engagement here. He apparently is a big fan of Ratu's videos, and Ratu always says that he who gets his cav in first wins, and Django gets his cav in first. And Django starts the colossal fucking up of me right now. You can see more cav. This is good team play from the AA team. More cav from their center player Alternative is coming over onto my flank here. And these guys are, that's maybe a second thing, is that, you know, when you play as a team, that you can share resources. A lot of times, if you play 3v3 against random players who aren't really coordinated, they just take it as a straight, move straight on and engage what's ahead of you straight on. But if you can shift resources, from the center onto either flank, or from one flank over to the other. And these guys moving, these cav units that are going to show up from Alternative here are really going to do a number on me. I thought I was doing fine at this point in the game, but it turns out I'm not. So the first thing, an obvious thing that you want to keep in mind is that this is a team game. It doesn't matter how you perform individually. It helps if you perform well, but if you can help your team perform better, then that's what's really, really important. The second thing to keep in mind, and I say this a bit when I talk about 3v3s, is that the concept, and I'm getting a little ahead of myself in the video, but the concept of time is very important when you play 3v3. It's an important concept in chess too. I know I got a couple chess players that watch my videos, and the concept of how fast it takes you to execute any given maneuver or to execute any given objective is important. Because let's say that I can win my flank, well, there's an onus on me to win my flank as fast as possible because my partner over there might be losing their flank, and I need to be able to turn and to help my partners as quick as possible. And the flip side of that is that if you're losing, you need to lose as slow as possible because you want your resources to last out as long as possible to give your teammates an opportunity to go ahead and win the game for you. The majority of the action, I guess I should get over to Riskard's flank, but I'm kind of fixated on this because you can see the utter disarray that my fucking army is in. This is all the extra cav that gets thrown in. Karavachko kind of made fun of me while this game was going on because he said that apparently I'd forgotten how to use the form square button, which is a really accurate representation of what I did in this game. Sorry, Karlov, I'll get better, man. I'll get better, but yeah, I just completely forgot how to form square here. So the opponents played great. I'm taking nothing for them, but I played kind of like an asshole. Is kind of how I played. So I want to zoom back over to this is Riskard's flank, and Riskard's doing his attack now, and he's getting a little more aggressive in there. I'm not really sure why these rifles are behind the line right there, but that's Riss. What Riss has managed to do is kind of sneak the red line away from this guy, and you can see that they're countercharging a bunch of cav. So if Riss can weather this cav countercharge, that's a nice hit on an unsquared line unit there. If Riss can weather this, then he'll do really well. Riskard is using an interesting tactic. If you have shooter cav, a lot of times you can position your shooter cav behind your front line. And Riskard, actually, we were talking about this earlier today, but he's a really big believer of when you have shooter cav, you want them to use all of their ammunition. A lot of times people have Chasseur Cheval or mounted Jaggers or whatever, and they charge them in. But Riss kind of holds more on Riss in a minute. But one of his little tenets that he likes to stick by is that if he has shooter cav, he wants to try his hardest to make sure that they shoot all of their rounds of ammunition first. And I tell you, I've watched Riskard play a million games, and some of the things that he does, I'm just like, why the fuck are you doing that? Or you know what I mean? Like, how does this work? And there's like this subtle brilliance to how he plays the game, and it's a privilege to get to watch him play the game. But he does some things that I'm like, man, you are such a noob for doing it like that. But then he wins, and don't get offended, man. It's in the utmost respect. But you can see him crash in the Dutch flank here. But if you have a chance to watch Riskard's videos, you should do it because he just does some really brilliant things that probably just wouldn't ever occur to you. You know, like the simple thing of making sure his shooter cav shoots all their ammo before he charges them, like really simple shit. So he uses tactics where, you know, you saw him just a minute ago, he runs his shooter cav up behind the squares and is able to get volleys off that way. You know, I mean, that's pretty smart. You know, a more impulsive player might not do it that well. Okay, so let me pick you back up on the left. Hey, my army just disappeared. It completely disappeared in the interim right there. One of the strategic things, so we have lost the flank. This is impeccably obvious. I'm not really sure I managed to rout a single unit. I would be tickled if I could be informed that I did at this point. I believe right now I have 3, maybe 4 line units, and it's not looking pretty. So one of the strategic things I wanted to talk about was what to do when you're the center player. And nobody ever talks about this because the center player in a 3v3 game really has a boring job. Their job is to sit there while their partners on the flanks. And they really don't do much. And you'll notice in these 3v3 Grassy games that the center player really doesn't engage much unless something is going wrong. And in this game, something went wrong. Let me zoom in. Those are my guys there. And Karlov is already detached 2 line units, and we're going to form a new line here. Now, we have a very awkward thing going on. You see this salient up in Karlov's line? He was doing a great job in attacking the center guy right until my army disappeared. So we have this really awkward hinge right here. This is not recommended. You don't want to have a hinge like that. And we really struggled through this period of the game trying to get these units extracted or to get these units into a not so fucked up position. And he is using the opportunity right now to turn and fire on the flank of this player, which really all Karla Lavachko is doing is posing a question to how on point this Dutch player is, because that Dutch player could obviously run up and shoot on his rear, but the Dutch player doesn't really seem interested in it right now. So we kind of got a break right there. But the way that the AA guys advanced, they caused us a real problem right there, and they probably could have won 2 or 3 infantry units. But the point I'm trying to make is that when you're playing as the center player, your job is to be kind of the rock. And, most of the time in 3v3, the center player you won't engage, you'll engage on the flanks. And the reason for that is that, say the center player does win and start to break his opponent well, then you have an awkward thing. You have, like a big salient going into their line. What do? It's a lot harder to exploit an advantage when you break in the center as opposed to when you break on the flank. So generally, center players don't really engage that much. And the reason they don't do that is exactly the example that this game gave us, is that all of a sudden Karlov had to turn around and handle this army that shows up on his flank. And the real testament of this game is, okay, so we've won the right, we've lost the left. How do you rectify that? I mentioned earlier that a really big concept in 3v3 games is time. Because what happens in a fair number of 3v3 games is that you will win one flank, like we have done with Riss as Sweden here, and we'll lose one flank, like I have lost our flank here. And the real question is time, because a Riskard can turn his resources here onto the center and start rolling that center, and then we meet him. Or can they turn this area and break into Karlov's rear? Right? That's the fundamental question right now. And the issue is time. How fast can you attack? And I really think that if you're in this position, time really becomes the overwhelming strategic concept. Like, Django here was maybe, you could watch this replay, this is a subjective thing, but I want to say maybe a little cautious in how he advanced. He's more aggressive now, but if we rewound at about, 2 minutes ago, he was advancing his lights and then his line. And the difference is that I think maybe on our team, Riss was a bit more aggressive. That has a lot to do, arguably, with army composition. And it has arguably to do a lot with that Karlov and I kited them. Well, it's not kiting because they don't have a range advantage, but we ran away from them. We ran away from Django's army. And we kept running for that exact reason. Like, dude, we have to buy time. Like, see Riskard's army here? We have to get them in. And I don't think that necessarily we played better than them. I think they played incredibly well. But I want to say that perhaps that we managed that time issue a bit better. You know what I mean? Or that strategic deployment on the field issue better. We kept running away from Django. We knew he was going to kill us. This guy is like a complete army that already killed me. He's going to come kill us. And we just kept running away. And, maybe if their right player, Shogun, he stood and fought against Riskard. Now, that's a lot of, there's a good point to that. But from a bigger picture, we ran like bitches, and they didn't. And so that let Riskard capture that flank. And you can notice right now that things are looking a lot better for us because their center player alternative is hurt now that Riskard's cav is up in him. And, if we would have said 5 minutes ago, we looked really, really bad because we had that salient with Karlavachko's infantry caught up there that he's now extracted. We have extracted his units, and we keep falling back and keep running away here. So the issue of time, you could argue that Riss did a faster job of beating the right flank than Django did at beating the left flank, and the only thing that we did was run away, pretty much. And the question is, how fast can you follow? Right? So, a lot of these 3v3 games are actually really, really close at certain points of the game. If we look back a few minutes ago, this game easily could have gone either way. And another thing that's always on my mind is I think sometimes that endgame play of NTW is really under theorized. Like, I feel sometimes that it's hard because every endgame scenario is different, but I feel like endgame play in the game is done at a fairly lower level. It doesn't make sense, but endgame play in Napoleon is under theorized. We don't talk about it enough. We don't analyze these scenarios enough about, well, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. What do I do? What do I do? And that's hard because you can't, no endgame scenario is entirely the same. But we wind up in one of these right now, and I mean, I guess we do outnumber him there because we have more people left. Riskard's coming out with about 10 units left of his army, and I think Karlov is killed up a fair amount of alternative in the center. And you can see that we're still running away. I mean, Django has a light unit still shooting, and we do not. And so we're just kind of trying to reform line here. And so we enter the second phase, or we enter the end game of this scenario where we've had the first engagement and we reform lines now on north-south axis. And now we're going to fight out till the end. But we have an advantage here because we outnumber them pretty good. We're having a little bit of problem, my team is, with getting our units formed in line. A bunch of lights from Django keep creeping up on us. At some point, I think we're just going to go in there and attack them. But there you go. We do have a couple things going for us. I have broken this random. It never came back from routing. I'd actually ran that unit all the way back to the red line and then back out, just trying to save it. So we have a random infantry unit creeping around the rear, and then I have a cav unit there that I'm using to chase down routers. I cannot emphasize enough how powerful the tool that is. If you have a cav unit left with, it looks like I have 23 men left in it. I think I might make a charge here. But use your leftover cav units to chase down routers. I put a video up a while ago about how a dude lost a game. Caradicus Finch lost a game to an army that came back from routing. So if you have a pretty depleted cav unit at the end, use it to chase down routers, man. Do it. And then Riss has another Mana Jagger down there that we're going to use for the same purpose. Risses, as he continues attack into Alternative's right there, does face some problems. Alternative puts a good fight up against him. But on the left here, we've finally collected a massive firepower, and so we're willing to kind of run in and do it. And it seems like we should have the game in hand now, or the end game. It looks like our team should be able to win. But yeah, those are some things to think about when you're playing 3v3s on Grassy in the big picture. Play as a team, support your partners. If you are getting your ass kicked, try to get out of there with any units you got left and run for your life. Buy time. If you're in a position to win your flank as fast as possible. Win your flank as fast as possible. And then if you're the center player, you got to be really flexible, man. I mean, playing as the center player is hard because you're not going to be caught. It's kind of like, I always think about this, like airline pilots don't do shit. 99% of the time, they're on autopilot. But the reason they make a ton of money is for the times when there is a crisis and then they have to act, right? Those guys don't do shit. They just take a nap the whole flight from LA to New York. But the reason they get paid a bunch of money is because when the shit goes down, you really want them to be on point. That's how it works. And it's kind of the same thing. When you're the center player, you kind of go with the flow, but you really got to keep your eyes open and you got to be really reactionary, you know what I mean? So that's the end of the game. I want to say a special GG Django kill. Totally kicked my ass, man. Good game to you. And the rest of the AA clan, a bunch of good players in this clan. And Riss and Kalavachko for playing with me. Thanks for dragging me along, man. I get you next time. What can I say? But this was a really good game, and a pretty good clan there, AA clan. They were playing against. So best of luck to you guys, and I like that y'all are still playing Napoleon, and I'm sure we'll get some more games in the not too distant future. So that was the end of the game. I'm going to show you my really embarrassing kill total here in a sec. And you can see, and yeah, this is the game that kind of turns into a rout. I mean, we got a bunch of units left. Wait, this game could have gone either way. I think this game went the way it did because Riskard moved faster on his flank is the only reason. The other team easily could have won this game, but that's how she goes. It's the way of the road. And props to them for playing Dutch, arguably weaker nations. I missed the backstory, but hey, look at that. I killed 600 people. Man, I'm good at this fucking game. When this game loaded, like, they all chose Prussia, and, like, we had a Prussia, and we were like, this is fucking old. Let's just all be minor nations. And they were down with that, and they just chose to be Dutch. So GG, guys, and we'll catch you in the next game. Bye.